And welcome to the Tuesday, April 25th City Council meeting. Did I get that date right? 24th, I'm sorry.
My anniversary tomorrow.
Okay. April 24th Finance Committee meeting. With us this evening, committee members present, President Kuchmarek, Councilors Walsh, Zarella, Boschman, and myself, Councilor Di Natale. Also present, Councilors Clark and Squalia. We'll start with two orders we'll take up at the same time involving contracts 10718 and 10818. 10718, in order that they're being hereby is appropriated the sum of $91,592, same to be charged against available funds and credited to accounts as follows: Police Dispatch Personal Services, $79,431. Police Dispatch Overtime, $9,000. Treasurer Personal Services, $3,161. And 10818, in order that there be and hereby is transferred the sum of $7,568 from airport expenses, aviation fuel, and credited to airport personal services. We have with us this evening Human Resources Director Susan Davis and Police Chief Ernie Martineau. Good evening.
Good evening, Councilor. Before you this evening is number 107-18. This is specifically a contract that myself, Ms. Davis, and Solicitor Pusateri negotiated with the police dispatches and two other groups within the city that fall under this contract. The negotiations went on for several months, and we're happy to say that we came to a conclusion after several months that was amicable to all sides. One of the biggest things that were taken out of the, specifically the contract with the dispatches, is our ability to finally get them to a pay scale that is comparable to the local communities. You may have heard me say in the past, we've had a significant challenge on retention of our dispatches because of where their scale was. And I think with the results of this contract, we're going to find retention to be greater than it has been in the past, because now we're offering packages that, like I said, are comparable to the city of Leominster and Gardner. I'm open to any questions that may have concern with regards to the dispatch issues. I would refer other questions to Ms. Davis on the other two unions.
Is this similar to the DPW where we are realigning our steps or grades?
We did. We did realign this matrix a bit. We dropped a couple of steps in the beginning and then added a couple at the end.
And the effective wage increase, according to the contract, is 2017, 0, 2018, 1, and 2019, 1%?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But that is not encompassing the step raises. I'm sure are there employees that were at the lower steps that are now going to be bumped up a few, and they're getting this percentage on top of that?
Actually, the way their matrix worked, it's not, because none of them have really been there really too long, so it's not like they will go up too far. Honestly, in the steps, they just haven't been there long enough. But it was not. It's more just a realigning of it. So they went, once even adding, or dropping the steps, they're going to stay in the same, the same grade and step that they're in. But the net, for instance, this, when you start, the starting rate was at 1602. It is now at 1856. So recognizing that is definitely well-deserved and certainly much-needed increase, we also were able to, keep that at a 011.
So the 011 is reflected in this schedule, or is it on top of?
No, it is part of
It's
that.
reflected
It is
in
absolutely
this.
part of that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So when I add up the total for the available funds, it's $91,592. Do we have any idea how many employees that spans? This contract covers?
16.
16? So we're 5,700 on average. Do we have any idea what this is going to cost? This is a 3-year deal?
Correct.
And what's the cost overall for the 3 years? I know it's 91,000 this go around. What about the next two?
$279.
279 total for the 3 years.
What's this number right here?
Oh, you know what?
We got
I
91.
apologize.
Yep,
329.
329,
329.
that's including the 91 that's being
Correct.
issued right now.
Yep.
And these will be covered in the next 2 fiscal year budgets, correct? So, just the first year is coming out of available funds. And then
Correct.
the rest of the years will be budgeted for.
Will be budgeted for. That's correct.
Okay, Counselor Boishman?
I got two questions. I got one for the chief and I got one for, you know how I feel about the vacation time. I'm looking over that and how they start in January. And if they're here to 6 months later, they get 2 weeks off. I still have a hard time. I'm a union guy and I'll take anything the city wants to give me and everything else, or anybody wants to give me as a union. But I never seen it like this, and I don't understand what you're saying, the metrics and when you start. But our anniversary date went from the day you got hired to the following year. That if I started on August 17th, the following year, August 17th, would be 1 year time. And that's when I would get my vacation time. Here, I have a hard time because you can start in January and I can say goodbye to the chief come July and I get 2 weeks' pay. It's 6 months later. Oh, 7 months, 6 months, 7.
You do need to, yes, go through your entire, your probation, but typically, again, because all
Oh,
of these.
July, sorry, 2 weeks.
Right, it is July, but also keeping in mind that all of these, the matrix, which is pretty much the same for everyone, they have to get this approved, a vacation approved. So realistically, yes, they could leave. Yeah, obviously, they could leave and decide to cash that out. But I think also we don't work in terms of on your anniversary date, all of your vacation time posts in January, except for when you first start. Obviously, you need to look at, the month that they start, which is what this matrix is based on. So the later in the year that you start, the less time you're going to have within that calendar year. I mean, it is on a sliding scale, so that if you start, which is actually one of the reasons why we implemented this. Because, one, it's easier to read, based upon what was in the contract, and two, this does account for if you start later in the year.
Okay. All right. Chief, I know it's probably brought up before, regional. Have we ever had any plans to go regional, even in the police department where we capsized since everybody says the cost of pension, the cost of insurance is so high, and we're in what is it, Mark? It's $180 million in the OPEC there behind on the health care and pension,
130.
Huh?
130.
130. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, I'm not a fan of farming out, but I was just wondering what your take is on it.
Nope, in fact, I've discussed it before in front of the council. I've explored it twice in my tenure as chief. I explored it the first month that I became chief, did an extensive study on it, had the state 911 people in here. We were talking about finding partners, because you have to find partners to formalize a regional dispatch center. We went down that road, and that first year, we discovered that the services that we're able to provide the citizens with the in-house dispatch system that we have now, it would far outweigh going down the regional approach. Specifically because I was having a little difficulty finding partners in the area that wanted to join as a regional dispatch. Lunenburg had already gone over to Neshoba as a regional dispatch. Gardner recently formed a regional up in their area. Then I explored it this past year where I reached out to the city of Leominster, and we thought that might be a better fit with the two largest cities in Northwestern County. We had 2 or 3 meetings with the police department, the fire department, both mayors of the city. We really put a lot into the efforts looking to see if it was even a feasible option. Once again, it came down to having control over your 911 dispatch center. And because we're large enough where we can maintain our own services and provide better services to the city, instant 911 communication, enhanced 911 communication, we felt it was in the best interest of the city to maintain it right here at a city level.
Now, my other question to you is this. If a police officer gets hurt and instead of going out on workman's comp, do they have, like, do you transfer them over into dispatch?
I do not. That's two different collective bargaining groups you're speaking of specifically. So no, I do not transfer police officers into the dispatch room. I can on an emergency basis, but to utilize it for someone that may be on workman's comp or a 111F claim, no, I can't do it because of the two different bargaining agents.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So the contract is valued at $329,000 over 3 years,
Correct.
92,000 of which is in year one.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to understand under Section 3, Article 6, compensation, where it says effective wage scale with the attached wage matrix will be modified as follows: 17-0, 18-1, 19-1. But then when you read the paragraph after that, it talks about, so as I understand it, we had an existing matrix that started at 1602. And we've gotten rid of some earlier steps, added some later steps, and we raised the rest of the steps accordingly.
Yes.
Because it says the starting one is going from 1602 to 1856, effective July 1st, 2017, so it's retroactive. And then the employee's step shall increase to step one with a 1.5 hourly wage increase. I'm trying to coordinate between the schedule where it says 011, and then the wording below it says, well, it's going to go up 1.5 here, 2.5 there. So what's the 011?
It can be, that's strictly the cost of living, but the way this is written with the 1.5, it is because if you look at the matrix, what we introduced was a step increase after 6 months. So essentially, they go through their probation, and then they go up a step. Then they're in that for another 6 months.
So
Then they go to the one.
So there are step increases, of course, and then there's cost of living adjustments.
Correct.
So the 011 is a cost of living adjustment.
Yes.
And then irrespective, that's separate and distinct from the step increases.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that,
Yep.
because it doesn't state cost of living adjustment it just says wages will be modified accordingly. And I happen to know that there are two separate increases. There's a cost of living, and then there's the step increases.
Right.
So that wasn't clear to me in that section of the contract. Didn't specify that that's cost of living.
That it's not, yeah, because the 1.5 is definitely takes into account essentially those first 3 steps.
Right.
Yep. And then there is usually a 2% anyway that is built into this matrix between the steps.
Except for the completion of the training. Once the training is completed,
Right.
that first step.
So they get a 2% step raise, let's say, and then on top of that, they get 1%.
They complete their probationary period, well, irrespective of the cost of living increase. They're going to complete their probationary period, and once they do that, successfully do the training, they get a 1.5% increase. That's at 6 months. And then at the end of the first year, they get their regular step increase. During the course of any of these next 3 years, they're going to get a 0% increase for cost of living. They're going to get a 1 and a 1.
On top of the step increases.
Yes.
Yes.
And then after that is you'll see those, the years in the steps doubles. So instead of, every year they're going to get a step increase, then they're going to step for 2 years.
I'd assume that would be one of their concessions to us, because it's prolonged. It's not every year, it's every 2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
Okay. So the first year is 91,592, and you said it was 329 total. Do you have any idea what next year it's going to be? So I've got 329 total, 92 this year. What's next year and what's the year after to get me to the 392? So
It's going to be 91.6 plus the next of 15. I can't.
I can't read it.
14-0.
14?
14-06. Then 14-851 in FY '20.
Which would take in the 90, we'll say 92, plus the 14, plus then the third year of 92
Right.
plus 14.5?
14,581.
Yeah.
So it's 92 this year, 106 next year? You said adding 14?
14,061
Yep.
for FY '19.
Yep,
And then for FY '20, you're adding 14,581.
so 120 in the third year.
Yes, sir,
From where you are today.
from where you are today.
So 92 this year, 106 next, I'm just, Bob,
Yeah,
106 next year, 120 the year after.
Yep. For
That
the
comes to 320,
329,497.
29.
yep.
And that includes both cost of living increase and a step increase.
All right, I'm sorry to be nitpicky, but this is my
No,
accountant
that's
mindset here.
Yeah.
You said 329 over 3 years, 92 this year. You said add 14 to the next, on top of that to make it 106.
Right.
107.
Yep.
Okay, so that's 92 plus 107, I'm at 199, so that means there's
So then you're gonna take
there's
the
130
90,
left.
so you're gonna take the 92 from the first year.
Yep.
Then the 14 from the second
Right.
year, and the 14.6 from the third year.
Right, so that would be like 121 in the third year.
Right, and then you add all three of
Yep.
those.
So
sums
121 plus 107 plus 92 gets me 320, not 329. Sorry to nitpick, I just want to make sure I
No.
tied up my numbers.
Incremental cost for FY teen is 95,598. And then you add 14,061 FY '19, 14,581 in FY '20.
Are the buybacks, you know what, I can't see on that. There's something that's not in there.
You have to add that in.
The bottom
This
one,
is just for
oh, that's, you know what?
This is for the-
Yes, thanks, sorry. You need to add in the second. You need to add in 108.18. The second, which is 75.68. The $7,568.
Where is that?
This, which is.
Oh,
on
the
second-
airport.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
because of the
including the
airport.
airport.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
wait a minute, I know we did.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, I'm good.
Yeah.
Sorry. Any other questions on the orders?
Motion to approve 107 and 108.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 107 and 108.18. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to
Do you want us, we're going to stay up here?
yes, next
Okay.
one, yep.
Yep.
Moving on to 109.18, order that there be and hereby is transferred from within the sum of $20,000 to be transferred from police personal services incentives and credited to police other expenses, animal control.
Thank you. This $20,000 transfer into our animal account will be coming, requesting it be taken out of our police personal services. As the council is aware, in November, we switched from an in-house employee taking care of animal control issues to a privatized animal control, Mr. Pickett, who handles all animal control issues for the city. The reason we're asking for this transfer is because, in essence, we had two functions going at the same time, with Mr. Pickett starting in November, our former animal control coming off the books. We knew there was not going to be enough money in the budgeted allotment to carry us through. Back in November, we weren't sure how far it would take us, so that's why we waited till April to have a precise number, what would take us through the end of the year. We've done our calculations. We feel that $20,000 transfer should be sufficient, barring any emergencies that our current animal control officer may have, but we're pretty confident that the $20,000 should cover for the remainder of this fiscal year. And as you will see in a short month or so, my budget request for next year for a full year of a privatized animal control. I can speak with further detail of that.
President Kuchmarek?
Chief, I was just going to say, when you came before us in the fall, you said that you'd be back about this time, and so you held true to your word, and you painted the situation almost exactly. You kind of gave us a ballpark of that it would probably be in this in the area of $20,000 at the time. So you're spot on with your estimates then, and appreciate you being transparent with us at the time and telling us you'd be back before us at this point in the year. So see no issue with this.
Just wanted to recognize that Councilor Donnelly has joined the meeting. Councilor Squalia.
How is the new animal control privatized service doing that's handling Fitchburg and Leominster? And is the cost estimate looking like it's going to be approximately similar to the existing service that we had? Because it was estimated at the time that you figured it would probably be about the same cost.
I did.
Is it still looking like that?
I did. Let me, to answer your first question, the services that we're providing now to the citizens is second to none. I can't say enough about Mr. Pickett and the quality of services that he's providing to our residents, his response, his compassion for animals. It's just, it's wonderful to have him working on board with us, and I'm excited that we have him for another 2 years under this contract. When we first examined the feasibility of moving from an in-house animal control to a privatized, we were looking at, first of all, providing a service to the citizens. We didn't want to go backwards. We wanted to go forward. We wanted to provide a better service. We wanted to provide transparent service. And we thought we could get that from someone like Mr. Pickett. When we looked at what we were paying to have someone in-house, we were estimating somewhere in the range of $136,000 a year it was costing the residents for animal control services. That $136,000 would have been a combination of the former animal control salary, overtime expenses, expenses for kenneling, which was the big number, expenses for veterinary services, expenses for maintenance to a vehicle, and then you throw on top of that longevity, holiday pays, and other post-benefits such as health insurance. We estimated we were in about $136,000 range. The current contract we have with Mr. Pickett is for $105,000 a year flat fee, but then on top of that, you have to provide allowances for veterinary costs and associated expenses. So we had a great opportunity with him coming on November. We've been able to examine the last 5 months to see how his prices have been fluctuating. And you'll see in my proposed budget for F-19, it should be sufficient to cover next year's expenses, and it will be lower than the price that we were paying before last year for having an animal control officer on city payroll.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with the 20,000, we're at 125. 105 for his contract, and then which is still below the estimated value of what we had previously by about 10, 11,000.
Yep. Evaluating, because he's done the city of Leominster for the past 5 years, I was able to reach out to our partners down there and get a good idea what to expect over a 3-year period. I have high expectations that the number is going to consistently go down from year 1 to year 3, just because our citizens are getting acclimated to Mr. Pickett's response and what our responsibilities are as employees towards animal care and control.
But it's trending less than what we were previously paying, and we're
It
getting a
sure-
better
and-
product.
And the product is second to none.
It's a good story.
Motion to approve 10918.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 10918. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Last on the agenda, 11018, order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Mass Executive Office of Health and Human Services, Department of Mental Health grant, the approximate amount of $49,365 for the purpose of said grant, which is to support a police-based jail diversion program for individuals with mental illness or emotional disturbances.
Thank you. I'd like to speak as well as I could on this matter, but Captain Hess is the expert in this field, and this is a grant that we've had in the past, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Captain Hess to give a brief description of what these funds will be used for, and I'll turn it over to the captain.
Good evening. This would be the 7th year that we would have a jail diversion program grant award from the Department of Mental Health. We started in 13, and then we had 1-year grants for 13, 14, 15. We had a 3-year grant for 16, 17, 18. For FY19, we've been awarded $49,365. This will enable us to do a variety of things. The main item that we engage in is outreach to citizens who've experienced a recent mental health crisis. We deploy member of our crisis intervention team, along with a licensed clinician, to go out and do follow-up with those folks, to offer them services, see how they're doing, just generally to provide them a better level of care. The grant will also allow us to continue training our personnel in all aspects of responding to these types of calls. We provide mental health first aid training, and we also send out certain officers to crisis intervention team training, which is a 40-hour course. And we also have a little bit of overhead because we have to report grant statistics to the Department of Mental Health on a monthly and quarterly basis. And we are also obligated to attend conferences in the Commonwealth that are related to their jail diversion program from the Department of Mental Health. And as it so happens, one of the next conferences is being held at Fitchburg State. They've hosted it about 5 years now, and so we're a key partner with that, along with Fitchburg State and the Department of Mental Health.
And just to add a caveat to what the captain's speaking about, this CIT program, it's part of a bigger program that's administered through the International Chiefs of Association called the One Mind campaign. And we're taking part in that program, which is providing benefits on rebates in our insurance coverage here in the city. 100% of the Fitchburg Police Department is trained in mental health first aid, which is significant. 30% of our police department is trained in critical incident training, a step level higher, where those officers are actually in the field with master level clinicians, interacting with people of some type of need in our community. We're truly at the cutting edge of providing services to our residents, and it's really something to be proud of, and we're excited that we have an opportunity to get this grant once again.
Counsel Walsh?
I was just wondering if the captain and the chief would address, I know from my experience that these numbers are constantly rising in terms of what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I was just wondering if you could address that, the percentage, say, of calls that you get regarding, and then you get there and you find out it's someone with a mental illness or an emotional disturbance issue.
I wouldn't be able to provide a percentage per se, but I would, we're going to at least 1 or 2 mental health related calls a day.
Mm-hmm.
There's a variety of issues. It could be a suicidal person, or it could just be somebody who's having a bad day due to their mental health issues. We do our best to help them get them services. It's a significant portion of our workforce's daily activities.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Counsel Zarella?
I'd just like to say we're hearing a lot nationwide lately about the issue of mental health and about how critical it's going to be in the near future to violence prevention, to superior policing and whatnot. And so I'm very pleased to hear that Fitchburg is, at the forefront of these efforts and is making a strong effort to incorporate this into our policing. So I thank you for that.
These programs that we're describing this evening are starting to become very reflective in our annual reports and where we're trending statistically. I'd be happy to present shortly, as soon as the council gets my end-of-the-year report, which should be due out in the next couple of weeks. But we're really starting to reap the benefits of having a fully trained department on issues just like this.
I can well imagine.
Counsel Squalia?
Is this the program that I hear about with Judge Lecanto?
No. What you're referring to with Judge Lecanto is our relationship with the Sheriff's Department in the Community Corrections Program here, administered by the Sheriff's Department. That deals with people with addiction issues. Obviously, there's also a mental health component in that, but what you're referring to is the Community Corrections Program that we're also partners with, involved in.
So with the jail diversion program, do you have to work with a local judge as well, or is this more identifying people with mental illnesses over criminals?
Primarily, we identify folks through our own matrix, people that we come in contact. We have referral services that come to us that people who may benefit from these services. And then, like the captain said, we do community outreach. We're out in the field with master level clinicians actually doing home visits and, you know, trying to make those connections and provide people with services that they truly need. And we're acting as a conduit between being in the field and getting people to the services that they truly need.
So you work with like the Department of Mental Health as opposed to the Department of Corrections in this program?
Yes, and we have several partners, but yes, that's one of, DMH is one of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve 11018.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 11018. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
councilors.
Thank you, Chief.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
Second.
made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.